Halloween, a time for roaming the neighbourhood dressed in weird costumes, demanding things from strangers. I mean, just look at the recent spate of clown sightings. But for the Doopie Bros, we prefer watching scary movies during Halloween.
So to celebrate, we thought we'd take a trip down memory lane to those happy times when you woke up screaming in the middle of the night because mum and dad let you watch something completely inappropriate.
This video is mostly aimed at 80s and 90s kids, a time when horror movies really were horrific. And if you were born after that, I'm sorry, but your generation has really missed out. Nowadays, it's all PG-13 jump scares, possessed kids, and elaborate traps. The horror genre has become pretty lousy of late.
Back in the day, there was an abundance of fucked up films to choose from, and a trip to the video shop was never complete without selecting something psychologically scarring, and parents were only too happy to indulge their kids' whims. Mama Doopie pretty much let us watch anything our little hearts desired, whatever it took to shut us up so she could enjoy a strongbow and a schnaut in peace. But honestly, we turned out just fine.
A quick heads up, not all the movies on our list are true horror films, but you can bet your ass they have horrific or disturbing elements. So which movies made the list?
Well, at number 7, it's The Lion King. Just kidding, though I'm sure Mufasa's death traumatized you just as much as it did us. Oh, spoiler alert by the way.
Number 7, Critters.
As silly as Critters is now, it was pretty frightening to watch as a child. The great thing was, all you needed was a balled up pair of socks to scare the living crap out of an unsuspecting sibling.
Sonic the Hedgehog's alien cousins could have been quite cute if it wasn't for the demonic red eyes, rows of razor-sharp teeth, and of course those spiny, sleep-inducing projectiles. In typical 80s fashion, the Critters arrived just in time to prevent any hint of teenage coitus. Damn it, Critters! We didn't even get to see any boob, but at least Scott Grimes managed to get some pussy.
As if the little bastards weren't enough to deal with, there's levitating aliens, legions of country bumpkins, and those weird shape-shifting bounty hunters who wanted to try bowling for some reason. Let us not forget the standout performer though, Billy Zane's ridiculous hairpiece. You can almost sympathise with his poor locks. No wonder they deserted him in the later years.
Let's be honest, Critters, or Krites as they're otherwise known, are pretty lame adversaries. They probably weigh about a pound at most and could easily be fended off with any number of household items. Hell, just put on some oven mitts, grab the little fuckers and throw them a mile. But hey, it wouldn't be an 80s horror movie if the protagonists weren't completely inept. Let's give Critters the benefit of the doubt though. It was the franchise that launched Leo's career, and we wouldn't have this amazing scene if it weren't for them.
Number 6, The Thing.
If this movie were to be remade today, they'd most likely replace all that awesome practical creature work with shitty CGI. Oh wait, that already happened?
John Carpenter's 1982 film is itself a remake of sorts, and follows the lives of Antarctic outpost workers trying to survive the infiltration of their group by a parasitic creature which assimilates other life forms and transforms its body to imitate them. It's your typical kids film in many ways.
Aside from the fantastic practical effects, which are equal parts gory and beautiful, the film creates a very tense and claustrophobic atmosphere. Stuck as you are with these desperate and paranoid characters in a dimly lit shack in the middle of nowhere. And much like the current US presidential election, it becomes very hard to spot the human.
Literally anyone could be a thing. Okay, we know he's a thing. And he's a thing too. Other than nightmares, the movie's takeaway message for impressionable young minds is that you should never trust anyone. Like ever. They might start growing tentacles and attempt to kill you. I was actually convinced that Doopie was a thing, and even tried to test his blood with a hot copper wire one time. He failed. Oh, and for the record, I will never ever trust one of these dogs.
Number 5, Candyman.
Who can give you nightmares? Sprinkle them with fear. Cover you in scratch marks, make you piss your pants too. The Candyman can. And the Candyman did.
Part Captain Hook, part Beehive, the Candyman is a nightmare-inducing creation from the mind of Clive Barker. Believe it or not, he was originally supposed to be played by Eddie Murphy. Turns out the production couldn't afford him though, which was for the best, as Tony Todd is perfect in the role. And honestly, the only time Eddie Murphy has ever scared me was Norbit.
Like so many other killers, Candyman operates out of Chicago, though this guy is very much supernatural. The rules are you say his name 5 times in front of the mirror, he appears, then kills you with a hook. Fun game, right? And despite dozens of murders in the area bearing the same death by hook hallmarks, people were still trying this out. Jeez, life before the internet, huh?
As a child, I only think I made it through once, and this is no doubt down to what really heightens the frightens and holds everything together, Todd's performance. That voice, those eyes.
Number 4, The Witches.
A tamer selection this one, but no less terrifying. Roald Dahl is the master of packaging traumatic tales as child-friendly literature, and it doesn't come more disturbing than Angelica Houston's Grand High Witch.
Looking at it even now sends shivers down my spine. And full credit to Jim Henson's production team who crafted something more terrifying than CGI could ever hope to achieve. Though let's be fair, the Scorpion King was pretty scary, although that's for different reasons.
Quite how she fit all those misshapen features under a rubber mask is a mystery to this day. Tom Cruise clearly learned a thing or two from watching this movie. Outside these horrors, we have child abduction, scary kid-absorbing paintings, youngsters being turned into mice, and Mr. Bean banging a hairy maid. Proper disturbing stuff.
To top it off, the movie fools you into thinking that poor Luke will spend the rest of his life as a mouse. Which isn't so bad. He did get to live inside the Ghostbusters firehouse after all. But considering his only family was his cigar-smoking, nose-rubbing, soon-to-be clog-popping grandma, that's not exactly the greatest prospect now, is it? Not cool.
Number 3, Aliens.
Thought you were getting a fun-filled sequel to E.T.? You thought wrong. For days after watching Aliens, I was convinced there was an army of Xenomorphs living in our attic. The slightest noise or movement got me on edge. Needless to say, I didn't sleep much that week, especially in the knowledge that they mostly come at night. Mostly. When I did manage to get to sleep, my dreams are largely consumed by chestbusters, alien queens, and decapitated androids spewing milk from their mouths. It's a shame really because Aliens is an epic film. It really expands on the Xeno mythology in very satisfying ways. Not that you're paying attention to any of this as a terrified young child.
With 2 sets of jaws, acid for blood, and a relentless desire to abduct people, the Xenomorph itself is fucking terrifying. But the real bad guy in Aliens is in fact Paul Reiser's Burke, who is willing to risk the lives of an entire colony in an attempt to harness the Xeno's power. In probably the film's most horrific scene, Burke unleashes the so-called facehugger onto an unsuspecting Ripley and Newt. Way to ruin the bonding, asshat. A more appropriate name for the creature, however, would be the Mouth Raper. Imagine the bony, corpse-like fingers of a hobo grabbing you round the face, then choking you until you pass out. And when you finally come to, you're pregnant, but instead of hobo babies, which is itself horrific, you give birth to an adolescent Xeno as it emerges screeching from your twitching, lifeless body. Fun times, right? It's game over, man! Game over!
Number 2, the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
Pick a Freddy movie, any Freddy movie, and I guarantee it scared you shitless as a kid. Well, maybe not the fourth one. Or the remake for that matter.
The bastard son of 100 maniacs is a pretty terrifying antagonist, not least because of his knife hands, kiddie fiddling ways, and burnt up face not even a mother could love, but mostly because his target is you, and he hunts you in your goddamn dreams. It's a meta mindfuck too, in that even if you did manage to get to sleep after watching it, Freddy would be waiting for you.
Growing up, you start to realise how hilarious the guy is though. He's got some great one-liners, loves the word bitch, and well, is just incredibly gleeful and inventive in the art of murdering. At least he enjoys his work. Freddy became a cultural phenomenon, with parodies and rip-offs all over the place. Just like any horror monster though, the more you show it, the less scary it becomes. And with every new appearance, Freddy became more and more cartoonish.
We still fondly remember him though as the scary, sadistic asshole he was.
Number 1, It.
Yep, Pennywise the dancing clown tops the list, as if you had any doubt. After all, he is the reason for 99% of clown phobias among millennials. Probably.
A movie about kids fighting clowns seems like the perfect fodder for a family Saturday evening, right? But almost instantly, IT grabs you by the short and curlies and pulls you kicking and screaming down into the sewer. Why did you have to talk to him, Georgie? Why did you have to bring us into this? Couldn't you have just forgotten about the goddamn boat?
IT was no easy ride. The torturous 192-minute running time is literally crammed with scares. And if you thought clowns were traumatizing, it's really just tip of the iceberg. The film offers up suicide, werewolves, suction pipes of death, exploding blood balloons, giant spider creatures, and another ridiculous hairpiece. You have a lot to answer for, Stephen King.
Credit has to go to Tim Curry's masterful performance too. Spine chilling doesn't even cover it. And honestly, the Doopie Bros are a loss trying to think of a scarier horror performance. And all of this from the hotel concierge in Home Alone 2. Beep, beep, doopie.
Now let's see if the remake can live up to this in any way, shape or form. Probably not, right?
So what do you think? Are these movies nightmare worthy? Or are we just being complete pussies?
Be sure to tell us which movie scared you witless as a kid. And if you like this, you should definitely check out these other Doopie videos. Thanks for watching and happy Halloween!